This is Ana Ruiz, General Manager. As the board knows, we brought this topic to you on a number of occasions to commend the excellent work of our staff, in particular rangers and maintenance crews that were part of the CZU fire suppression efforts. And they played an instrumental role in holding down one of the fire lines in the northeastern reaches of the CZU fire that sprung up in August. And tonight we have the wonderful opportunity to have you all hear directly from the staff themselves, those who were in the fire zone. And let me pass it on next to our Assistant General Manager, Brian Malone, to offer some additional remarks before staff take on the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, board. Brian Malone, Assistant General Manager. As you're aware, on August 16th, California was faced with an extreme lightning event that started multiple fires throughout California and in the Bay Area. There was 4 lightning strikes on Midpen lands, all in San Mateo County. All 4 fires were located and extinguished by Midpen and CAL FIRE staff. The largest was about an acre, and Midpen Rangers were assigned to monitoring it and the other sites to ensure they didn't restart. The danger of lightning starts is that they start fires in inaccessible locations as opposed to the typical human-caused starts that are near residents or roads or human activity and accessible. The roads and trails maintained by the Midpen Regional Open Space District played a major role in accessing and extinguishing those fires. Just moments before this presentation started, Craig Beckman, our area manager on Skyline, sent a picture of sprouts of oak leaves coming back from one of the small fires that was on district property. And also seen partners sending pictures of resprouting throughout the CZU fire complex. You know, as those fires got started, we were seeing the smoke come up from Butano Ridge. We looked for additional ways to contribute to the fire effort. We sent maintenance crews to help state parks increase clearance on Año Nuevo, and then also in Butano around the redwood flume that supplies water to the Cloverdale property. And then we also did additional structure clearing in front of the fire and around our district facilities and residences. And then we also assisted with livestock evacuations throughout the area to help our livestock tenants, ranchers, move their cattle. However, our biggest role was holding the fire line along Old Hall Road. And that was really initiated by our area superintendent, Brad Pennington, who was our representative at the incident command. And to start this story, I'm going to hand it off to him now. Thank you.
All right, now I'm unmuted. Hi, this is Brad Pennington, Area Superintendent for the Foothills Region with Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space. I basically went down to IC the Thursday before we started this to get a read on the fire, where it was going to be, what was going on. And down there, one thing, if you have a badge on, they don't like to talk to you. They send you to the sheriff's department. So, you know, I had to break away from the sheriffs and let them know, no, I need to know what's going on with the fire here. So after meeting with a few people that we do know, like Division Chief Rich Sampson, him introducing me to some people we could talk to about how it was going, where it can be, it was clear that there was a definite need for aid. And the first proposition was that we would, with our small vehicles that are adept at this, our Type 7, our patrol vehicles, go in and do mop up around the burned out areas in Boulder Creek. So very tight areas that the fires already passed through, and then we could throw some water on to prevent any flare-ups and anything happening after that. So came back, contacted Chief Matt Anderson and said, hey, this is what they need. They've given me an official call. They called me back about 4 hours later and requested this. And you know, he moved that up the chain, and we got the blessing from the general manager to go ahead and start this. one question was, are we going to have enough people that, kind of want to do this? I sent out a group text to all the Rangers, and I had responses within 5 seconds of yes, 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 and almost complete buy-in from all the Ranger group. Then it was on to see if we can get some equipment operators to run the tenders. So the first day when we went to show up, we were ready to go do this, and Aldo Gonzalez from San Mateo County Fire found us when we were trying to get basically assigned to a division and tell us where we're going to go. And he knew us from the training that the Skyline Rangers have done with San Mateo Fire, specifically out of Engine 58 in La Honda at Skylonda there. So he's like, I know your rigs and what they can do. And we were having difficulty getting with what resources we have, because they all big engines. We can't get into Old Hall Road. And I'm like, familiar with that. And some of the Skyline Rangers would be as well. I've been on medical aids down there to assist state parks when they were out of the area, and San Mateo County parks. And knowing that terrain, I'm like, we understand. So we were assigned there, and I kind of was like, what are the orders? They're basic and simple. Don't let the fire cross the road. From that point on, that was the daily mantra. I stayed at IC many days to help out, just coordinate with our team. But from then on, from the first day after, it was the patrol supervisor and the team that monitored this each day. And I want to pass on to Miguel Perez, who was, out of the 14 days, was there 8 of those days for the fire, and really took this on as a kind of a passion to lead this team and to lead this effort. So I will pass it on to him now.
Thank you very much, Brad. This is Miguel Perez. I'm a supervising ranger at the Foothills Field Office. And as Brad and Brian both mentioned, this was a unique opportunity for the agency to participate in a regional effort that hit particularly close to home for us. Many of our friends in our communities and our family at Midpen was directly affected by this fire through evacuations. And so providing, having an opportunity to take a proactive role in suppressing this fire and preventing it from further devastation of the community was something that, was, I know, very important for myself and many of my colleagues. And this was in many ways a career-defining incident for me. It was also a significant life event as well. Very few people get opportunities to participate in such a large collaboration with so much riding on the line with regards to success that it was truly a special experience. As Brad had mentioned, on August 21st, we answered the call for mutual aid assistance in fighting the CZU August complex fire. Once we received that call, we created a task force of 30 Midpen personnel comprised of field staff, our rangers, and our equipment maintenance, or equipment mechanic operators, all of whom are wild and fire trained. Over the next 14 days, we participated in 123 12-hour shifts for a cumulative of 1,476 hours fighting the CZU fire. And out of all of that time we spent on the fire line, we had 0 injuries to district staff and 0 damage to district equipment. It was certainly hard, dirty, and dangerous work, but your staff fought this fire aggressively, tirelessly, and most of all, safely. As Brad had mentioned at the IC briefings in Scotts Valley, it was continually reiterated how imperative it was that we held the line at Old Hall Road. And hold the line did become the task force motto throughout the incident. If you can imagine Old Hall Road being at the bottom of 2 large uphill sloping areas, the fire was burning back on Butano Ridge. Had it crossed Old Hall Road, there would have been nothing stopping it from heading up to Highway 35 through Long Ridge and the South Skyline region, and likely crossing Highway 35 into Palo Alto and on the eastern side of the Santa Cruz Mountains. At the briefing, it was continually reiterated that the last line of defense for this fire was going to be Highway 92, Highway 9, Highway 1, and Highway 280. So it was imperative that Old Hall Road be held and the fire not be allowed to cross and continue on with the further devastation. Your staff performed in a superlative manner. We were successful in holding the fire at Old Hall Road and preventing further destruction to the surrounding communities and district lands. And as Brad had mentioned before, or earlier, state resources were extremely thin. For the majority of the time that we were assigned to this, the task force was assigned to the CZU fire, we were the sole element protecting Old Hall Road. It's an emotional time for a lot of us. The camaraderie and the friendships and bonds that are built in these trying and significant events like this can't be replicated in other situations, and they are the true measure of one's character. Your staff displayed camaraderie, courage, discipline, and resolve. And they are the true heroes of this event. It was the Rangers and the equipment mechanics, operators are the ones who deserve all the accolades for their tireless efforts. And I know they're likely tired of me saying this, but I am so proud to have been a part of this effort on behalf of the agency, and most importantly, on behalf of my brothers and sisters that were also on the task force. And it is humbling to work with such an amazing, dedicated, and courageous group of individuals. So with that, I would like to pass off to members of the task force that have volunteered to share their experiences with you this evening. Thank you.
Should I go first?
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. Can you see my video? Or
we can see your cursor moving,
okay.
and it looks like the video may still be going.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and start. Hello, my name is Greg Smutnak, and I've been a ranger for the district for 15 years. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today on my involvement working the CZU fire. Over the many years working as a ranger, there have been many moments of accomplishments. This includes helping our visitors and the public in their time of need. For example, lost hikers, visitors having medical emergencies, bike accidents, motorcycle accidents, and vehicle accidents. But being involved in this type of fire and part of the district's first fire task force has left me with the proudest feeling of achievement I have ever felt. To the district command staff, thank you for having trust and confidence in your employees to give us this opportunity to show the local fire agencies and surrounding communities that Midpen will respond. The action we took and the work we did protected local properties from possible impending devastation speaks volumes to who we are as a district and the employees that work for you. I felt a sense of pride working on the fire lines. Every day the work we put in was making a difference to help save homes, property, and Portola Redwood State Park. Seeing the sweat, dirt, and grime on us and our equipment displayed a good, hard-hitting, solid day's work. The first days we were tasked to hold the fire at Old Hall Road and to make sure the fire did not jump the line. The following days we were on mop-up, which required us going in 100 yards from the road with our hoses and backpack pumps. In the final days, we were going in 300 feet from the road to put out spot fires. Those were tough days because the terrain was very steep. At the end of each day, we shared stories and laughs, knowing that another day was finished and we couldn't wait to go back to the fire line the next day. We had a sense of triumph of the quality and quantity of work we did each day, and seeing that everyone returned safe was a huge achievement. That sense of camaraderie we had on the line, people watching out for one another, making sure we were hydrated, looking out for snags, widowmakers, and advising each other of hidden dangers that laid in wait for us if we were not careful and vigilant. We really took care of each other out there. I felt a sense of pride flying the district flag as our district vehicles all lined up caravanning on Highway 9 through Scotts Valley, Felton, and Boulder Creek on our way to the fire, and the countless times caravanning up and down Alpine Road, knowing that other agencies and the local communities were noticing us too. One morning, one of the supervisors told us that at the morning briefing, Midpen got a shout out from CAL FIRE for the great work we were doing out there. It was a good feeling to hear that. It made us proud to be representing the district in this manner. When I look back on these fires, the biggest moment that stands out for me was the evening we were leaving the fire through Portola Redwood State Park as a caravan. And one of the homes on Portola State Park Road had people sitting on their porch. As we drove by, they stood up and started to applaud. The American flag waving on their porch and them applauding was dreamlike. That moment will forever be etched in my memory. I really hope we continue to participate in events like this. It's good press for the district and a morale boost for its employees. It's long hours and tough work, but the memories of accomplishment, team building, and learning is priceless. And I'm done, so thank you. Hello?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? This is Ranger Johnson.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for your time. My name is Stephen Johnson. I'm a lead ranger out of the Skyline area. I just wanted to express how proud I am to work with such a motivated and selfless field staff. I would also like to recognize those who lost irreplaceable property and memories because of these fires that we've been having. Our hearts do go out, our hearts do go out to them. When the fire came about, we were all eager to help and are thankful to be given the opportunity to do so. We were able to accomplish the assignment that was given to us in a safe and professional manner, all while staying in our scope and abilities. Although field staff does have a certain level of wildland fire training, there's nothing like working with live fire. The exposure working with live fire in multiple agencies is extremely valuable for future similar events like we had. I've been working in the park system now for 10 years, and I've never seen a better example of the leadership, camaraderie among the staff that we have, and compassion. Working on the fires has helped us grow as professionals, grow as an organization, and a well-organized organization at that. Being able to work on the fire has given Midpen positive exposure to the public that does know us, and now to a new population of the public that has just discovered us. The more the public learns about us, allows them to explore and have a better quality of life. Working on the fire with my fellow Midpen family was rewarding, but more importantly, we made a difference. We protected life, property, and open spaces. We all hope that these now common fires stop, but if they continue, I have no doubt that we will be ready to take immediate action on assisting multiple agencies to control them. And thank you for your time.
I'll follow up there. Good afternoon. My name is Dan Chamberlain. I've been working with the district full-time for almost 5 years now as an equipment mechanic operator. Previous to that, I was also seasonal for about 7 years. I've worked a couple control burns through a different agency throughout my career, and coming into a wildland fire situation was something I was not 100% familiar with. But the leadership, especially the supervisors that I worked under directly, Alicia Carabetta and Mike Perez, was incredible and impressive to me. Coming in and having clear, concise communication and direction took a lot of confusion or worry out of my mind. I'm not much one for a speaker, but what I do know is I would gladly jump at any opportunity from here on out to get or be put in situations like that again. It looked like, honestly, our crew had been doing that for decades. That's pretty much all I have to say. I want to thank the board for taking the time to listen to us individuals essentially the boots on the ground. So thank you again. That's all I got.
Hello, this is Jeff Smith. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So yeah, we were asked to kind of share our experience and maybe a little context for everybody. So I'll try not to repeat too much, but I've been a ranger of the district for 21 years, and I've been to many fires, but the experience at the CZU fire was like no other. Um, being a wildland firefighter is in our job description. We're initially trained. We go through annual wildland refresher training, and we have equipment and rigs that are prepared throughout the fire season to respond to fires. So throughout the fire season, we do every year respond to many fire calls, and typically a lot of them turn out to be nothing, but some are fires, and we are fighting fire every season. But typically fires we fight are put out in a matter of hours and mopped up the same day. So to be involved in this one was definitely a different experience for us. So my experience at this fire, I'll start with the night of the lightning fire. Sorry, the lightning storm, or the thunderstorm that rolled through. So, hearing that weather forecast, we're always kind of listening and watching weather and paying attention to what's going on for fire season, and hearing about a dry lightning storm coming into the Bay Area in August. The only thing I could think is like, oh, this is going to be bad. But we had no idea how bad it was going to be. So, that the night of the lightning storm, when it started, it woke me up. And I'm resident ranger at Fremont Older. And I was laying in bed, seeing flashes of light and hearing the thunder, and I wasn't going to sleep through that. So I was up. I ended up sitting in my living room in the dark and just waiting, thinking in my mind, if I heard a lightning strike close by, I was going to go on duty and go out and check on it. But the way the storm came through, we didn't have any strikes in the foothills area, which I work out of the office at Rancho. So it was all kind of skyline and toward the coast is where most of the activity happened. So anyway, so as the next couple of days went by, we did have a couple fires in the district, and the staff responded, and I hadn't been involved yet, but Tuesday was the day that the fire blew up. And, in the afternoon, I was on working Rancho area, and Santa Clara County Fire and Mountain View Fire started getting smoke checks from the public because the smoke column, and many of you probably saw this, but that day the smoke column really took off and went vertical, and you could see it all over the Bay Area. So we were watching it as well, and could see that it was the fires over on Butano Ridge that we were aware of. That day we also had the one fire in Purisima that was a lightning fire that had been extinguished. Ryan Augustine, a Skyline Ranger, was sent out to check on that. When he got there, it rekindled and was burning. So that was a response, that initiated a response to put that out. And I responded to assist, since there was only a couple people working on Skyline. So in doing that, I was driving from Rancho, and I'd actually stopped at Santa Clara County El Monte Station by Foothill College, and was checking in with that crew and letting them know that we did have people on the ridge and in the area that were monitoring as well, and that they were welcome to call us and check with us to see what we knew. And so as I went up Moody Road and up Page Mill and into Skyline, looking around the Bay Area that day, you could see smoke, large columns around the Bay Area. There were two columns that were pretty big in the North Bay, and then looking to the Hamilton Range, there was a large column in that area. And then obviously I was very close to the CZU fire, and that was growing. So I ended up at Skyline and then went up to assist Augustine, who was out with fire units from that region, and they had already gotten it handled by the time I got there. But we checked in with him, and then working our way back, went into darkness, and then on my way home, I came back Skyline and across over Montebello, and that experience was pretty unique because from Black Mountain, looking south, I was looking at straight across at Butano Ridge, and the whole ridge was on fire, and the smoke column at night was all lit up to the south. And then when I turned to look east to continue driving, I'm looking at the Hamilton Range, and I could see flames. And that struck me because if you can see actual flames and you know, like trees going up, or I was assuming they were trees, but that's a pretty long ways away. So if you can see flame from that distance, those are pretty big fires. So so by the time that we were being asked to come help, I wasn't surprised at all, just thinking about the fires burning around the Bay Area, and nonetheless, you know, in other parts of the state. And in the past, the district has declined to send our staff to assist with fighting fires that aren't on district lands. And I think this situation was a bit unique. But I have to say, like Greg, definitely need to give credit to our command staff and management for evaluating it and trusting us and making the decision to send us as well. Because that's definitely out of the district's comfort zone of the past. And I think the end result shows that it was a good decision. So my experience at the fire was that we were given appropriate tasks based on our equipment, training, and experience. As you can see in the pictures, we were along the road there, and we were the way we were directed. Our orders were to allow the fire to burn down to us, and then put it out at the road. It's a backing fire, so backing fire is slower and calmer than a running fire running uphill. We also, for the most of the time, had wind at our back. So it was a backing fire downhill and into the wind. So our equipment worked very well for this. And I think we were very effective with that. That being said, one thing I do want to point out and give props to is the water tenders and the equipment operators. You know, our fire pumpers only have 120 gallons, and you can pump that out at 30 gallons a minute in a couple minutes. So having the water tenders there was essential to make us effective. And we actually did some things that I hadn't done before, like using the water tender to fill a pumper as we were running the pumper and running water. It effectively made our Type 7 a much bigger engine. And that was super effective for us to get a lot of water on places that needed it. Let's see, just trying to go back to my notes here. Let's see. Our staff worked really hard and worked really safe. That was one of the things I was really happy to see everybody all be very conscious of our safety in terms of escape zones, hazards, and we were constantly checking in on that stuff and had other people checking in as well. And then our effectiveness really, I agree, blew me away. We also heard this from the overhead personnel who were working the fire, like the division chief and safety officers that came through checking in with us. We heard every day from them, and that it was all positive feedback from them as well. So I'm rambling on here, so I'll cut it off. I think everyone in the district should definitely be proud of the decision to go and the effectiveness and what we accomplished at the CZU fire. You know, this kind of thing, as you know, in the last couple of years, we're seeing more and more large fires and more fires in our area. And I think we need to be thinking at this point that it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when we have a large fire in the district. And establishing the relationships and helping that other agencies in adjacent areas, I think is going to pay off because they're going to be coming to help us at some point. So definitely, I'm proud of being there. I'm proud of us. And I think it was a great call. And I think moving forward, the district should feel confident that we can continue to expand and improve our firefighting and burn programs. And yeah, I think it was a really good experience for all of us. And I think it's going to pay off in the long run. And fingers crossed, but we need to be ready. So thanks. I'll wrap it there.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Stephanie Town, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Stephanie Town. I'm an equipment mechanic operator at Foothills Field Office. I've been with the district for about 5 years, and this was my first time working on a live fire. I spent 6 days on the fire, and I got a wonderful opportunity to get a chance to work with the rangers that I don't really work with very often, the other equipment operators at the other office, and the patrol supervisors. Definitely want to give a shout out to Alicia, Carabetta, Mike Perez, and Steve Gibbons. I was really impressed by their leadership skills. They were really great at communicating and providing good information for us through the entire incident. For me personally, I got a really good chance to get to know my equipment better. I feel like the whole opportunity gave me a good chance to be a more well-rounded emo. For me, it was a really good opportunity too to use the water tender in a capacity that I'm not used to using. So that was a good chance to kind of learn more about my equipment and what it can do. The incident command system was really interesting to see, especially working with the different agencies that I don't often get a chance to work with, like CAL FIRE and some of the other agencies that were out there. And I was really proud to have gotten the opportunity to work on this fire. I've never worked on a project where morale was so incredibly high for so long. And I truly believe that we all knew that we were making a difference. Lastly, I just want to thank the board and the district for this amazing opportunity to protect our community, coworkers' houses, and our open spaces. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steph. And Marianne, Chance, are you available?
I'm here. Thank you to the board for inviting us to speak. I'm Marianne Chance. I'm a ranger at the Skyline Field Office. And as I briefly tell you about my personal experience fighting the fire, I'm going to highlight a few key concepts. I'm going to talk about 3 T's: tenacity, teamwork, and training. And the first day that I was assigned to the fire, I had a fear of the unknown. I had a lot of questions in my mind. Simple questions like, do I have enough food and water with me today? Am I wearing the right clothing? And questions that went a little deeper. What am I going to be assigned to do? And am I capable of doing it? I didn't have a lot of experience fighting fire on the first day that I was assigned to the CZU complex fire. I had done a couple of controlled burns and a few vehicle fires or power line fires that had started along Skyline Boulevard, but those were always easy to put out. So I had to take a deep breath on that first day, early in the morning, as I arrived at the Skyline Field Office. I knew that this would be hard, but I told myself I can handle it. A little positive self-talk never hurts. And that was the tenacity, sheer grit. It's a quality of our field staff. So when I got there to the Skyline Field Office in the morning and we were all milling around and preparing our equipment, I sought out a teammate who had worked on the fire the day before. I thought that this might help with some of my anxiety and questions. And fortunately for me, that ranger had photos of the fire and the work that they had done the day before, so that I could actually see what I was going to get myself into. And as he told me about the experience and all the highlights that he had experienced from the fire the day before, it did start to calm me down, and it helped me understand I really could do this. So as we got our assignments, I was assigned to a group of 3. There were 3 of us together, and 2 of them had experience on the fire already. That was awesome. Those were my teammates. And I said to them as we started working, don't leave me behind. And they both agreed that they wouldn't. And you could see I was grappling with the anxiety of the life or death situation that we were getting ourselves into. That's the teamwork. Once we actually got started fighting the fire, my training and my familiarity with the equipment made me much more confident. I just felt like I was starting to do what I had been trained to do. And even though we were knocking down flare-ups as tall as the AO building at times, I felt like I got this. I'm well trained. I'm here with people who know what they're doing. I can handle it. I still had that underlying anxiety. And honestly, I was relieved when that first day was over. But by the second day, it all started to seem routine. And I had already had the on-the-job training, and I knew what to expect and what was expected of me. This past year has just been one over-the-top event after another, and we're not done yet. We've all risen to the challenge again and again and again. You may not know it, but today is National First Responders Day. So I want to take a moment to point out that the challenges we've experienced, challenges like COVID and fighting the fire and others, require field staff not only to rise to the challenge, but also to put their lives on the line, literally. And yeah, that's just part of the job, but we also do it to benefit the public, for the safety, comfort, and enjoyment of our community. And I'm sure that all of us, every person listening to this board meeting, has been asked to rise to a number of challenges this year. And we just keep doing it, right? That's the sheer strength of human spirit. So I want to remind you of my 3 T's in conclusion. Fall back on your training. Draw upon your inner strength and tenacity to get through this. And rely on your team, because we're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marianne. This is Miguel Perez. Brad, did you want to say any words in conclusion?
Well, I was just going to say that this pretty much was the conclusion of this. And if we're here for any questions or any comments or anything anyone would like to add.
So COVID has its constraints. And so if we were all meeting in person, I'm sure you would be seeing the board members all standing and applauding you. Short being able to do that, could I ask all the board members to unmute yourselves and anybody else on the staff who wishes to do so and join me?
I think the president will feel to pursue just these almost Nazi-like.
So I see Director Riffle's hand up.
Great, thank you, President Holman. Wow. Just a couple of comments, and then of course, Director Riffle, I've got questions. But I just want to comment to Brad and Miguel, since you kind of started this and set this up. But for every one of you who spoke, wow, well done. It was so great to hear from each of you directly. My only wish, which I think Director Holman was just alluding to, I wish we could have seen you as well as heard you while you were describing your experience, but it was so great to hear from each and every one of you. Speaking as one board member, we are tremendously proud of what you gals accomplished, just incredible. And in addition, I'm sure, as in most cases like this, were dozens of people that were in the backup roles to make sure that what you all were doing, boots on the ground, could be successful out there. And so I want to also thank all of them for your incredible contributions to this. And then just last statement before I get to just a couple questions. I just think that what you all described is a great example of this can-do approach and just get the job done in a safe and professional, effective manner. That's what has made this district so successful and so incredible. And so we were tested, and you all did such a fantastic job and made everyone so proud of what you were able to accomplish. So thank you so much for taking us through your experience and letting us kind of understand what it is that you all went through. Just a couple quick questions though. To any of you, did you ever think during the time that you're out there that you weren't going to be able to hold the road, that it was a lost cause, or was it so, nope, we got this, and never really a question that you were able to do it? I'll open that up to anybody that wants to comment.
Director Riffle, this is Miguel Perez. I can speak a little bit about that from my perspective as the task force leader. There was never even when, well, the first couple of days when the fire was actively approaching the line, there certainly wasn't ever any sense of that we got this. It was very touch and go, and part of that was because in that particular area, San Mateo County has a nickname as the Asphalt County, just given the fact that how few fires burn out there, given the typically wet nature. And so we had decades upon decades of dry tinder material, whether it be deadfall, duff, or anything that was primed and ready to burn. So as that fire approached, that we were certainly there was certainly actively working at a very high tempo to knock that down. There was also in some of the photographs, it's difficult to describe the magnitude of such a fire through photographs or even video. That fire burned so hot and so completely that many of the root systems of these old growth redwoods were completely burned through. And then when we were doing mop up, they were just wormholes in the dirt, basically. And so what that would do was on some of the previously logged areas where there was a stump, all of those root systems would feed as almost bellows of sucking air into the core of the stump and sending embers up like a chimney. And a lot of these were on the side of the road. So even during the mop-up phase, there was never we never really got a respite in regards to, hey, we got this. It was very touch and go throughout the majority of the time we were out there. Towards the last couple of days before we demobilized, I think that and this is supported by a lot of comments from CAL FIRE. The thorough job that we had done had cooled our portion of line so thoroughly that it actually wasn't even registering on the satellite thermal images anymore. So once the division chief came by and actually showed us that photograph of where we were stationed and how we had taken the heat out of our 100 feet in from the fire line, then we kind of thought, okay, we did it, we got it, But up until that point, it was really anyone's game, and I think again, it's a testament to the resolve and the dedication and the focus of the staff that was on that.
Great, thanks, Miguel. My last question is, well, I was going to ask key ingredients for success, but I love Marianne's 3 T's, and given what she said and what all of you said, I think I have my answer to that. But there is, and maybe this question is for Brad or Matt or Brian. How have we we just learned a heck of a lot through this experience. And I was just wondering, how are we going about capturing that? I don't want to hear, what they are, but just have we set up some way of capturing everything and said, okay, this is how we're going to prepare for this? Because as one of you said, this is going to happen again, unfortunately.
Thank you, Director Riffle. It's kind of coincidental, but one of the projects for this year is to assess our fire response program and planning And came at an opportunity, gives us an opportunity to do that. Some lessons learned from the response and how prepared or equipped we are to do that. So Chris Baresi is heading up that committee, and we just started meeting. So we're going to be taking it on this year, and we're going to definitely draw some lessons learned from this opportunity.
Great. Thank you. And thanks to all of you again. Well done.
Welcome.
Director Hassett, you had some pretty close encounters with this. Do you have questions and comments?
Yeah, I sure do. I don't think there's anybody on the board that has appreciated more the efforts of this task force that was put together. Brad and Miguel and Marianne, all of you. I mean, I'm just so thankful. As a homeowner just off of Skyline Boulevard that built his own home 44 years ago, I spent a lot of time during this fire looking out at my view over towards the ocean, and actually spending most of my time just sleeping when I could, but always on the patio looking out over the fire, wondering when it is we're going to have to pull up and head out. And so I was always on guard to see that the winds and what direction the fire was going. And during this time, as I was sitting there one night, just before we had to be evacuated, I noticed in the distance with a spotting scope that I could see people. I could see responders, and I'm going, that's unbelievable. But what I was actually looking at was at 4 o'clock in the morning, a group of 6 or 8, it was hard to tell actually. And I'm almost certain it would have been the Midpen Rangers and task force. They, at 4 in the morning, I could see them literally digging with their hands and walking up and down the slopes, because the gear that they're wearing is bright yellow, heavy, sweaty, unbelievably difficult to stay in for long periods of time. But their uniforms had this foil highlight tape, warning tape or whatever it's called, and you could literally see these people moving at about 3 miles away from me through the spotting scope. And I was just so impressed at 4 o'clock in the morning, they had the energy to continue to work out there. And to give you just some ideas, it was the district owns roughly 65,000 acres of land. This CZU fire took 86,509 acres to be contained. So it's about 1 1/3 times the entire size of the district. And yet the district came through pretty much in flying colors. And a lot of that has to do with the task force that held the line on the old Hall Road. And so much appreciation from not only me and my family, but everybody along Skyline, because it's an area where there aren't a lot of road access, hard to get, bulldozers in and out. So once that fire started to move, if it did, towards us, we were going to be in serious trouble, and we knew it. And so we tried to prepare as much as you can, but you can never prepare enough for all of that. So, so my gratitude towards every single person that participated in that. It was an unbelievable effort. We were evacuated twice and came back to a house that I didn't think I would actually see again at one night. So so yeah, I'm just so grateful, so thankful, and so appreciative of all of the teamwork that went into this. And Brad and Miguel, great job. You guys are leading this pack. So I'm just thrilled that we had the response that, and it just makes me really proud, really proud. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Director Kirstine Tucker.
7 words. I am so proud of our staff, your leadership, your courage, your heroism, the commitment to community. This fire response is Midpen at its best. And what you do makes the taxpayers proud and makes our communities so much stronger. If 2020 has shown us anything, it's that no amount of fire and ash and pandemic can hold this district down. So I hope you all see me like pumping my fists in your direction today saying, yay, thank you so much. As a co-sider, I can't tell you like the ominous sense that I felt that night with the lightning and just wondering the next days where the fire was going to strike and how close it was going to come to Highway 92 and whether it was going to jump 92 or whether it was going to jump Skyline. So the fact that y'all held that line with such camaraderie and sense of purpose makes me just so incredibly proud. So I just have to offer you up my heartfelt thanks to all of you for what you've done to preserve the coast side, the Skyline area, and the region to the east of Highway of Skyline. I too really appreciated the 3 T's, the tenacity, teamwork, and training concept that Marianne put out this evening. And my biggest question now moving forward is what kind of training is needed as we now move into what I think of as the second phase of these fires, and that's the rains that will surely come and wreak havoc with the landscapes on the coast side. So I'm hoping somebody can talk a little bit about how we're ready to address what I think will be a challenge when the rains hit these burned out areas. So thank you, and I hope someone will address my questions.
Does someone want to take that now or wait till you have more questions? You're welcome to respond now, whoever would like to take that.
I'll take it a bit here. I know with the rains and
who is this speaking?
Sorry, this is Brad Pennington, Area
Thank
Superintendent.
you, Brad.
Most of that area is not going to affect district land, and I don't want to sound like we're in the clear and we're free from it. But the severe burns in the areas that were burned that much where mudslides are a concern are in a lot of state park area and the towns of Boulder Creek, Big Basin area. But we do, with our involvement of in Cloverdale, we are going to watch that because the burn area did go down and touch Cloverdale Road on the one side there. So we'll have to be mindful of that. I know our maintenance division is very well equipped at running equipment and to deal with that on our own lands. As far as helping any other agencies, that will again be up to the system manager, Brian Malone, how far we go into that. But with further fires, we will say that this year we're just in another red flag warning. Over this last weekend, the air is very dry. It's still very dry, not dry enough for red flag warning, but dry. And these are the years where we've had red flag warnings into December. I can remember red flag warnings at Christmas time on Skyline about 5-6 years ago. And I think we might be back into that situation again. So I know for field staff, we're going to stay kind of fire ready. I'm going to work with the area managers to make sure we keep our pumpers on our trucks and ready to respond as long as we can this year, for the fact that I think red flag warnings are going to continue into the new year.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Brian Malone, Area Assistant. Just to add, one of the major things that's been done so far, which is very important, is a mapping exercise to look at slopes and burn intensity for those areas, not on district lands, but with our partners and certainly for the communities and parklands that we're concerned about as a community. And one of the big contributions to that was the LiDAR data and vegetation data that was a major effort that the district had a large contribution to for mapping in San Mateo and Santa Cruz counties.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for those responses. I just know that folks here on the coast are beginning to feel concerned about the onslaught of the rainy season and how that will affect the lands to the west side of 35. So to the degree to which we can continue in the spirit of community here with our rangers and our staff, I think that will be a really positive learning experience for all of us as we come to grips with what is probably not the last of a major fire in this region. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And Director Sear.
There we go. Thank you. Wow. It's, I can't repeat all of the wonderful accolades that other other board members have said. I just want to echo them. An incredible job. And especially appreciated, many of you choosing to be willing to tell us directly about your own personal experience. It gave me a chance anyway to kind of get a real sense of how this had enhanced your personal experience as well as kind of the overall effect of the staff at all levels. Just meeting the challenge head on and accomplishing incredible things as a result. So I just want you all to know that I'm deeply appreciative of all you do and all you bring to everything that you set out to do. So thank you so much.
Director Kishimoto, I'm sorry, Director Siemens.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank you staff members that came and gave us your personal experience. To me, that puts a personal kind of face on what you all did instead of just saying staff went down and helped put out a fire. So we've got what your testimony, your experiences were just impressive as heck. And I just echo the other board members of my appreciation of what you did. I'm going to throw in another thought, which a couple of you touched on, but it has to do with equipment. It was pretty clear to me that without those two water tenders, I don't think you would have been quite as successful. And I remember when we bought the first one, that was a basic water tender that had been extensively modified based on district staff input. Basically, we essentially designed those water tenders. The district did, our staff did. And I remember it was pretty expensive and also for each unit, but I'm looking at what you just accomplished and I'm saying in my head, it's like, well, those two tenders paid for themselves last month. Regardless of any other use we ever got out of them, they paid for themselves. And so I'm hoping what you'll do, I think Brad talked about putting together a team and assessing how you did and kind of do an assessment of the whole operation and what you might need in the future. And I just want to emphasize the fact that because kind of that's where my head is, you guys need the right equipment to do your jobs. And I've always been happy to support that. And I'm happy with our whole board over the years that has supported providing equipment. So, let us know what you need. Make that part of your assessment that says, gee, it would have been nice if we'd have had this, this, and this. And so let's take a look at that for future use. And anyhow, just an oddball thought. And so anyhow, thank you very much for all your efforts and thank you for the presentation.
Director Siemens, this is Brad Pennington, Area Superintendent. Thank you for the comment on the water tenders, and I do want to stress they were very important, and there was a reason we were called the MOS Task Force. It took about 3 to 4 days to work out with the IC, but I had to let them know and get them to understand we weren't effective without them. They needed to stay with our Type 7 vehicles. They worked in tandem. Essentially, with the combination of the two vehicles, you took a Type 7 engine and a water tender, and you turned it into almost a Type 1 because the gallons we were carrying and the pump capacity. The smaller Type 7s actually have a 2-stage pump, which can get you up to 200 PSI, where the water tenders can only get up to about 80. So we're able to pump water farther and higher up into the trees to knock stuff down. So just want to throw that in there. Thanks.
And Brad, this is Miguel Perez. If I could just reiterate that as well with Director Siemens' comments. Just from a perspective on the ground, the water tenders were a tremendous force multiplier for us. We were in a very unique situation, a very fortunate situation in that the 11-mile stretch of Old Hull Road that we were tasked with had was bisected by Portola State Redwoods Road that came right down to basically the middle of it. The state park had been cleared and was closed. However, their water system, which had 20,000 gallons, was still accessible to us. So we had a very reliable source of water. Many of the other, CAL FIRE relied heavily on this fire, relied on private contractors. Many of those water tenders were your typical construction grade water tenders that were 2-wheel drive and were not able to get to areas that our equipment was. So not only did our water tenders greatly benefit and make our task force as effective as it was, we were able to provide water and support to other CAL FIRE agencies who would have exhausted their water supply and been ineffective throughout their time out there. So they were a tremendous asset and a huge component to the equation that led to our success in this event.
Director Kishimoto.
Great. Well, it's really wonderful to hear that our investment in the equipment and training, and of course our amazing staff has really paid off like this. And so I also thank everyone for really representing us well on truly the front lines out there. It's a real priceless opportunity to hear directly from those people with the boots on the ground, as someone said, and actually it makes me think that we need to do this more of hearing more from our field staff directly. It's a great opportunity. Well, I guess as we think about lessons learned, I guess I'll just mention two questions. I guess one is maybe you answered that with the last comment about, because if I were out there, I would be terrified of getting boxed in, and so I guess, but I guess the question is, yes, where did someone keep an eye on the evacuation routes? And you always, hopefully you had always a safe route out. And then someone mentioned the incident command. And I remember our discussions and investment in our communications and such. And so I would be interested in hearing more about how our everything from communications and also was this part of our mutual aid agreement? Or, I mean, it sounds like it wasn't per se, but so maybe if someone can talk about that larger picture of the communications and mutual aid and incident command, that would be great. Thank you.
This is Brad Pennington, Area Superintendent. Brian, I saw you chime in. Did you want to go first?
Yeah, if you could talk about the communications at the event. But I did just want to mention two things. Brian Malone, Assistant General Manager. We are going to be coming to the board with a major revamp of our radio system required by the aging system, basically for replacement of our repeaters and also upgrade of our equipment. It's not going to be cheap, but when you talk about importance for emergency response and communications for safety, it's one of the most important tools that we have. So that's just something that will be coming to the board. First in a report this year on the status, and then as a proposed action plan item for following fiscal years. And then as far as the mutual aid agreements, particularly the agreement we have with San Mateo County Fire, this was totally outside in additional response from our staff above and beyond certainly what's agreed to and above and beyond what's expected. And it was kind of a unique opportunity that our training and skills fit in with one, the lack of resources. I mean, CAL FIRE did an incredible job along with all the other responding agencies, really fighting the fire as it moved quickly through the mountain communities and towards Santa Cruz. And that's where the bulk of personnel was dedicated. But so, you know, it was really that we saw the need and that Area Superintendent Brad Pennington worked with them to find the right area and niche where we could be effective. And then as our staff has presented so eloquently, that the training and equipment and leadership kicked in, and they did a fantastic job. I just, it was, even though I got daily updates, I tried to do my best to present this to the board previously. I want to thank Director Hassett for requesting it, and Director Holman, President Holman, for requesting this presentation. It was incredible for me to hear as well. And then if Brad, if you could just report on communications during the incident.
Yeah, so Brad Pennington, Area Superintendent. The communications were a little bit rough down there. They were using channels that we did not have programmed into our radios. We did have to check out a CAL FIRE radio, which is possible. So we had one radio basically to go back and forth on the TAC channel. That's a tactical channel. It's not the main channel. Our radio system in that, it's basically a canyon, Old Hall Road's kind of in a canyon. Our radio system actually was able to assess the main channel. So the actual command channel that the main force was on, we were able to access that better with our repeaters than what CAL FIRE was using. Their tones weren't even as effective as ours. But that being said, we still didn't have all the channels we needed, and there still were holes. Especially if we were to got on the other side of the mountain near Cloverdale, then we start to lose our radio system over there. So where we were at, we were okay. And as far as safety measures, one of the reasons when we first met with San Mateo County, and they said, you know, we know where we need to put you. Immediately in my mind, there's 3 escape routes there. One is Ward Road, which comes right up through Long Ridge. One is Portola State Park Road. Actually, sorry, there's 4. And then there's also 4 corners on Highway 9 and out San Mateo County Park to Pescadero there. So it had plenty of escape routes. Our vehicles were easily able to manage those roads. The water tenders would have been a little bit tougher, but being 4-wheel drive, they had the capacity to probably go out either Ward or for sure State Park Road, which they access each day. There was some unique part to Old Hall Road. There was a washout, and our team called it the Abyss, but basically it was a huge washout where they had redirected the road down into a drainage and back up. It was steep on both sides. CAL FIRE engines wouldn't go through it. Our water tenders, they decided not to go through it. They probably could have, but our trucks were able to go back and forth across that where other trucks were not. And that has to do with, you know, the size of the truck, the weight of the truck. But also we could get quickly through that section, deal with fire on one side, come back, fill up, and then go back through it again. So that was a unique part of our ability in our equipment. But as far as safety, the Rangers always, and the equipment operators always had some exit routes, at least 4 to choose from, if something didn't happen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Director Sear.
Thank you. I just wanted to add something to what Director Seaman said, and that is I want to compliment the team that was involved in assessing the equipment that we did purchase, choosing which tenders to purchase and from whom and what capabilities they needed to have. So incredible foresight and kudos to those folks who were involved in that process.
Thank you. So I want to really appreciate everyone who is here tonight presenting and telling us more about your experiences, and certainly everyone who helped save the property and even I'd say lives of others fighting these fires. I was rather taken by something because I'd heard before that 280 was an identified line of defense, but I had not heard that 101 was even into consideration. It's like that it might get as far as 101. Could somebody speak to that? Did I mishear that? I hope.
Yes, ma'am. This is Supervising Ranger Perez. The containment was actually Highway 1. I apologize if I misspoke. It's Highway 1 on the west, Highway 280 on the east, Highway 92 on the north, and Highway 9 on the south was the kind of do or die perimeter that CAL FIRE had set.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't make me happier. Just
certainly, yeah. It's a huge swath of land that they were expecting that the fire could potentially encompass that entire area.
Yeah. So it is an enormous span. One of the things I noticed was I didn't notice much in the way of masks or smoke gear or breathing apparatuses. Did I just misread what the situations were in the photos, or can somebody speak to that?
Yeah, Area Superintendent Brett Pennington. Wildland fire is not typically something where you're going to have the mask you would call would be self-contained breathing apparatus or scuba gear. Those are house fires. That's where they use that. Wildland fire, you get a shroud, which is a piece of fabric you can pull over your nose and face, and goggles. With the intensity of the fire being lower and being slower, the smoke was actually being blown away from the people working on the fire. Rarely did it kind of consume them. So they were able to work with their goggles off and their shrouds off. But if it got hot, you definitely want to throw those two things on.
Okay, that helps. And I'm glad you all were safe. I was also thrilled that there were no injuries to any person, and also there were no injuries to any of the equipment, but certainly to the people. That was like very, very reassuring. I do want to thank you all for being here. And someone else mentioned Marianne's comments, and I think they are pretty remarkable, the tenacity, teamwork, and training. And I also wanted to thank the leadership, the management of Midpen for saying that it's okay to go, to give him permission for this team to go. And it is a team, obviously. And if it was a loosely knit team before, it's certainly a bonded team now. So thank you to Anna and Brian and Brad and anybody else who had a hand and a say in allowing people to go, because the difference that they made is remarkable and obvious. So thank you very much for that. I so wish we could do something to express physically right now our appreciation. And it's just with COVID, it's just not possible. But do know that we are all standing in spirit with you and acknowledging you, appreciating you, and respecting you all. for what you've done and for what you've become and how you've grown and stretched through this experience, surely. Thank you a lot. And when Brian first made a presentation about this to the board some time ago, the words still stick with me. The words came to me. It's like I feel wholly inadequate to come up with the right words to say thank you. They just, there's just not really quite human expression to be able to express that adequately. Words being as limiting as they are, just understand that the appreciation is heartfelt and runs deep. And I think you could hear that from each and every board member. You make us proud, you stand proud, and we are proud to stand with you. With that, unless, Anna or Brian, do you want to make any closing comments or anything of that nature?
Brian Malone, Assistant General Manager. Just to reiterate, I have tremendous pride in our staff, and throughout my career, it is moments like this where they rise and shine in excellence. And this is just an incredible example. It's worth the time and the training and all the work to keep themselves fit and be ready and be trained. I just really proud of our staff and the work that they did.
And this is Ana Ruiz, General Manager. I can't say much more, really. It's an amazing amount of pride that I also hold for our staff, and not just pride, but also gratitude. Gratitude to have them part of this larger team and to be able to stand with them as we move forward, tackling these challenges every single day. This has been an incredible year, and I could not think of having anyone else but the team that I have with me now to overcome these challenges. So very grateful to have them all, and thank you again.